Folks, good morning. Listen, if you're going to speak, just make sure you turn your microphone on. It helps with the YouTube thing. I'm going to call this special committee to order at this time, and we're going to be setting some groundworks and some ideas of where we're going to go forward. The most important thing I need to do is establish a quorum, which we are here. I welcome all my committee members. I have Phil here from staff. James Riley will be here. He is in transient right now. I have Director and Chair of Charter Clubs, Donna Melody. I have Director-elect Harry Stenenbaum, who's here, who's going to be part of the leadership here. And I have Kay Williams, who is here as a person from the, I don't want to say the outside because Kay's been around the community for more than a week or so, but her valuable information comes out and there. I'm George. I'm just sitting in the chair as we speak right now. We are going to go forward with a lot of good things. Do all of you guys here know how to use board docs? Okay. If you have any issue with that, just put your hand up and please ask Karen. She'll be happy to walk you through it. Okay. Also, for all members, owner members who are listening, board docs is available to you. Please go to our website, governing board. It says board docs, and it gives you all the information for all meetings that are of public information there. It's really a great tool. Cumbersome sometimes, but a good use. I already covered microphone use. Please go out there and make sure if you're going to speak, the little green light is on. It helps with the YouTubers out there, which is really great. The committee secretary, Kay has volunteered to be our secretary, and she'll be taking some very brief minutes because with a lot of discussion, there's going to be a lot of back and forth on this, so it'll be very brief to start out with. Handbook, committee members, there's a committee member handbook that is online. I ask you by our next meeting to make sure you review it. It would be good. Handouts, I already published all the information that we had that has been done from 2016 up until the current time for your review. The important part with that too is I'm also going to include, we have a square footage for each one of the buildings, and it is, thankfully, I can say Russ Boston has made that in intimate detail. It gives you down to the storage closet how big they are, and it's a great thing that's out there. And I hate taking up so much of the time on the microphone to start out with, but one of the reasons we're here is we have realized under the leadership of Bill Schwinn that we need to have what they call a master plan. Master plan for the community does not just include clubs. It includes our spaces. It includes our common spaces. It includes everything that we have in Sun City West, whether it's a parking lot, a tree, a greenhouse, or anything like that. And it's imperative that we're going to be the first step in putting statistical information together for this. And that's what we're going to be talking about to begin with where we're going to go and how are we going to proceed to get this. One of the things the committee is going to be asked to do is to assimilate a lot of information. And Phil will be happy to provide us with information, and we'll be able to put it together. Staff doesn't have the immense amount of time that's going to be required to look at each one of these things. And we're, as a committee and as concerned people who live here, owner members, we are going to help them. And again, the only thing I will ask the committee to do, any request you have that wants to be sent out to these people, please just include the chair on it. That's all I ask. This way I don't get yelled at that I didn't know. Committee goals. Our goal is to deliver by the end of May, the governing board meeting in May, a statistical outline of room area that is used, that is unused, and how we can use areas that are being empty and not used to the fullest potential right now to move forward. We are going to hear many times, and I'm going to say this probably 25 times throughout this. If your club is mentioned, it is only as an example right now, okay? There is nothing in concrete. There is nothing that we're going to do A, B, C, or D. The ice skaters are not going to move out of A, B, C, or D. The mothball people are not going to move out. If the name of a club is mentioned, it is only for an example, okay? I want to make that crystal clear. okay? Because otherwise, we have to deal in nebulous worlds. So that's what our goal is, to deliver to Bill and to the staff an idea of what space we have that's being used, what space is being underused, what space may be overused, okay? And what future needs are. And the future needs may be saying, are club rooms going to be static? Do we need to have common areas that are shared from day to day? Is there an enhancement to being where we can use places that already exist for different ideas and things like that? And I know both Harry and Kay, when I spoke with them, were very much thrilled about looking 5 and 10 years down the road to get things done. One of the things that we have had with space and space utilization, we have had all that batted around for many years, is we are not going to do knee-jerk moves and knee-jerk reactions to things that are out there. This is a time that we have the ability to take the planning, proper performance will enhance the community for many, many years to come. And with that, I'm going to button my yap for a few minutes and just let my committee speak to see what their thoughts are. Phil, I'm going to ask you first because you look like you're going to sleep.
As a recent member of this community, I've only been here 6 months. I just moved here. I'm interested in this both as an employee and as a resident, that we need to maximize our space and put it to good use. And in my short time as an employee, walking around, I'm like many other people. I have a lot of questions. So I'm happy to be on the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Donna, I'm just going to go to you because you're Miss Charter Clubs, and there's nobody who can sit in this room who knows more about the clubs than you do.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just would like to share that I am so excited that the Rec Center is looking at software that will give us actual statistical data as far as club use and what their needs are. And that will greatly enhance our ability to determine the needs for underusage and overusage for clubs.
That's good. Kay?
I look forward to people on this committee functioning with an open mind, leaving their baggage behind of past ideas, and looking at things with fresh eyes, even if we've lived here a week or 20 years, and really taking a look at what's currently the needs are and what opportunities we have to make it even better than it already is.
Thank you, Kay. Harry?
A lot of my thoughts you've covered already. A couple things. When you said that I was interested in long-range planning, that was definitely where I'm at. And then when it changed to space utilization, I have a little bit of heartburn over that name. And so everybody knows the reason for my heartburn is that I was the head for 3 years of the Boomers Club finding space for expansion and did not have a good situation or good relationship. And so when it came out of space utilization, I thought this is not the proper place for Harry.
Well, Harry, I know what you're saying about space utilization, but you know very well that's not the path we're on. We're on a completely different idea of saying what we have, what we need, and we're going to try to match up what we have. I mean, we have struggles. I mean, there are outdoor clubs that have come to us and say they need to double their size because they want opportunity to do their outdoor activity between 8 and 11 every morning. And they made it very clear that that's what they want and that's what it is. Well, that's not proper use of our assets or our facilities. That doesn't make anything. I mean, I'm sure we've all walked around many of our facilities and said at 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, why are the lights off? And again, we have many problems, not problems, but different ideas coming up, is that saying, well, the space out there is being used. Is it being used to the fullest extent? Okay? Are there clubs or there are groups that can be put in one room in the morning and somebody else takes it over in the afternoon because there's equipment there? And those are the things we really have to look at. And again, like I said, only as an example. If you look at the Clay Club, they have kilns and things that are literally attached to the building. That's not something you want to say, we're going to move you over here. Because that doesn't make not only financial sense, but it also doesn't make any sense at all. But then you would have somebody, I'm going to use them only as an example, and I'm going to say that many times, the beaters who have their craft, and their beaters can be beaded at any table, anywhere, in any facility. If there's 25 beaters and they're taking a room that can seat 200 people, are they in the right spot, or are we not using our facility and square footage correctly? And I see Vice President Sufit Simons is here. I want to recognize her as always. But the other thing is, do we look at, when we go up to the Kunst facility, we look at the Weaver's room. I mean, would it be crazy for us to say, we're going to have the Weavers move their looms, from room to room based on that? It doesn't make any sense. And that's what it is. And there are groups that, again, like Harry, as you said, you represented, was a social club, which really has very little stuff other than people. And people are easily moved. That's why they have Atlas van lines, right? But so that's kind of where we're looking at it. And again, those clubs are only used as an example. Only used as an example. So the idea is how we're gonna start out with this plan of action of where we're going to get some good statistical information to put into a plan so they can bubble up the master plan. Harry, go right ahead.
My next thought is, are we going to have the information that we need coming out of the pandemic? Do we know how many members are going to be in clubs? What clubs are going to be in existence? I am sure most clubs are going to decline because they haven't met for a year.
I agree with that. We have absolutely solid numbers from before the pandemic started, and that's going to be kind of square one of what we're going to do. Not saying that it is, but you can look at it and say, okay, if we see an overall, as people come back, of a decline of, let's say, 20% across the board, you can factor those numbers accordingly. But up until that point, up until the pandemic hit, Riley and Phil will say, we have absolutely solid numbers they're solid. Are they taken at the top of the hour? Yeah. Okay. If somebody shows up at 10 after, are they counted? No. But overall, when you look at the statistics, and you know very well, you have to have a spot in time. And the spot in time will be, here it is, everybody hits it at this point. Are we going to go to an outside facility and have a monitor go over there for 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and the only people outside doing that facility are the crickets? I don't know. And if that's the case, can that outside venue be used for something else with temporary structure to accommodate a club that may be, or a group that is bounding out of existence? Just being overwhelmed with people. Those are the questions we have. And I think, to your point, you're exactly right. Do we have solid numbers for 2019 up until the pandemic hit? Yes. Going forward, we don't know what's going to be. We are going to lean heavily on Phil to tell us our club's in trouble or whatever. But I just want to also make sure, just not the clubs. Because, we have to look at places like Beardsley Park. We have to look at places like the lawn. Is our lawn out here being used to the best of its facilities? Are our barbecue area being used to the best of facilities out there? Is the library being used? Is our data resource center being used? One of the things is we have to be able to separate clubs and the overall plan of what we have. And that is, because again, one of the things, we're landlocked, we have very little space to grow, okay? but there are facilities out there, and I will just mention it, and again, the club is not only as an example, okay? We may have a social club that would like to meet in an outside venue somewhere. Well, maybe the courtyard doesn't suit what they want to do or whatever. Can we look at our golfing area to use it? Because we have restaurant facilities there or not. I don't know. Right now, we have this hodgepodge of ideas that are out there. And what I'd like to do is see if we could get them down and say, you know, Harry, you're going to look at all the outside facilities. You can give me an idea of what's used, what's not used, when it is, peak time and this and that, from 2019. And then we can start marrying up as people come back. Because right now, our job is to deliver statistical idea to say, here are the blocks of time that are open. How are we using them right? And again, are changing demographics. We looked at bowling alley, only as an example, that 2 years ago, at the end of May, they closed at 5 o'clock every day. Where now, during the summer, they were open till 9, 3 nights a week. Probably this year, it may be 5 because they had that much people coming in and using it during the summer. So, because of what went on before that as a changing community, where we would have 70% of our people leave to go back, even in Montana. No, I'm only kidding. Is that now many of the people are here and they're year-round residents, and our facilities are available year-round. They're beautiful. Are we giving them the opportunity with openness to be able to use them? Those are the real criteria. And guys, I don't know where to go from here in the thought process of how we put this together. So I'm waiting on my committee to help me because I only sit in the chair for a little week. Donna, any ideas?
I'm just really hoping that what we establish here are future needs for Sun City West in the future, and that we're not going to be dealing with a request made from a club for today in the immediate future, but that we set a plan for a master plan that is used in moving us forward, not a master plan that every year when we get new directors, we change it and we have different ideas, but a plan that we say this is where Sun City West is going for the future. We establish that through the master plan, and then we follow that master plan. And we do that by gathering the history that Phil will provide us and input from clubs and, most importantly, the community.
And that's what we're here for.
Yes.
We're square one. We're gonna. I always. I know. My vice president heard me say this many times, and so do you, Donna. Years ago, I grew up on Lego blocks, and we're the first block on that big thing, and we're going to start interlocking these blocks together. So when it comes down to it, and we start looking at, okay, well, we don't have to look at this portion of this is already taken care of, because there's so many factors into a community, and there are many parts of the community factor that we don't have to deal with because it's already done. And our job is to sit square one and say where we want to give them a product where they can say, okay, you've given us all our holes. Now we know how we can take the opportunity to fill them. And I'll just use an example. Let's just say the ice skating rink people wanted their ice skating rink out there, okay? And we found out we have an area that's unused or underused or used once or twice a year, and it'd be a perfect spot for their ice skating rink. Okay, well, that's something that we hand off to the general manager and his group and say, hey, look, here's an area that's underutilized. This group wants to do that. Can this happen? Can it not happen? And then it goes through the process of, like I've said many times, when we want to fix something here, you got to do the scope of work, the bidding process, contractor, what Maricopa County will let you do, what the financial impact is. And again, when we're sitting here and looking at these blocks to put it together, we also have the opportunity to realize that the reserve funds are part of this, okay? And we have to be extremely prudent about our reserve funds of where we are and what we're going to maybe spend them on or not spend them on accordingly. Are we going to be building a 14-story viewing center, right, only as an example, for the softball people to invite 3 tournaments in a year to see people that? Is that wisely spending what we have? Is that going to service our community? Is that going to enhance what we have? Are we going to, those are the questions that we have to be able to deliver to the general manager in saying, here's what we have, here's what the holes are, here's what we can fill in, without having to do any kind of construction or anything like that, because that's what we're looking at. Okay, I'm going to shut up for a minute.
I guess I'm the resident historian of this group, having worked on space utilization and looking at our clubs for 2015 to now. And so I've been involved in a variety of studies, and so you learn from your past what worked, what didn't work, and what you do different if you turn back the clock and start over. So my big concern is taking some of the things that did work, that made sense, and it kind of ties into what Donna was just talking about. The last time we were involved in the study in 2018, the one thing that we did with that hadn't been done previously was to do a survey, and we broke it down in age brackets to kind of give us a feel of what residents currently here would like to see here that isn't here now. And because, we all know we've got about a 40-year age span in our community. And so by breaking that out into groups, it helped give us an idea of what things our younger, newer residents would like to see. And it was a good tool. Unfortunately, timing was everything. And so part of it got tabulated very well, and we have good information on that. The second half of it, due to circumstances beyond our control, never really got tabulated and broken out. So we have half a survey in my mind as far as what we gathered out of that. But that was an idea that made sense, and I know I've heard Donna mention it before. We really need to see what the community would like to have. It shouldn't be decided by 4 or 6 people when we've got 27,000 plus here. So I think we need to keep that in mind, but that, to my thinking, comes a little further down the road than where we are right now. What we
Agreed.
need to focus on right now is what we have, when it's being used, when it's not being used, and how could we do it better. And once we've got those numbers down, and that's going to take a while, once we've got that down, that'll give us a good base to work from,
I agree.
because we do need it. And I'm like Harry, the pandemic thing as far as numbers is scary, because we all know what the last year has been like, so those aren't real numbers. And so to start with, you can only go with what you've got and what Phil and Riley have been able to put together, and start with that and see where things are going. But my biggest concern is we don't lose sight of focusing on how many members a club have, but how many participants they have. That's a world of difference, and it's certainly got to come into our decision-making on how we use our space. I don't care if you've got 700 people on a piece of paper that pay dues, but if only 50 of them show up, that puts a whole different slant on what space that group needs. And I just think we need to keep that in our mind all the way through and realize that that's what we're shooting for, is to
Yeah.
get some good data for the governing board by the end of May to work from, and then see what they do next. And, if they go outside, as I think they will, to ultimately hire a professional master planner as part of the team that works on that.
And to that point, Kay, when Bill originally was tasked with the amount of a master plan, it was broken up into 9 different architectural areas. The cost factor on that was, let me just say it this way, it was the greenhouse project going forward was inexpensive compared to what they quoted us. So what we've done is we've taken those ideas and said, what's out there? Well, we don't need to cover this. This is already done. This is already done. We don't have to worry about the traffic lights and things like that. So this is the task that we're going to be faced with now, and to see where we can go forward. And I think we're on the right track on this one. I do. I think that being able to say, what is the best use of what we have? I mean, we're sitting right now, only because of COVID and restrictions, sitting in social hall because we have to be so far apart. Is that going to change in the next 6 months? I would assume so, because everything changes. But again, what is the best use of this facility? Is the social hall that's empty, 11 hours out of 15 hours of usefulness being used properly, or whatever. Or just as an example, is the theater being used properly? Is the courtyard being used properly? Those are just examples, okay? Our courts, i.e. our tennis area, not just the tennis courts, but the area that's underneath the canopy down there, just as an example, only being used for one purpose, or can it be multi-purposed ideas? Can we go down there and say, hey, and as an example again, the agricultural club may want to meet, can they meet underneath that canopy out there instead out of a 10 by 10 cement pad in the dirt where they are? These are the questions that are going to be out there. There's many things that have been used in the past that have been said, this is mine, and this is one of the questions we're going to have. You guys got any other comments?
The one I've got, Kay, is you said, and when I read through the document, to me, it did not look like things were completed, which is what you've said. When I looked at the numbers, for those that don't know, I am a CPA, that things were missing. There's gaps in them. And the other question I have, George, is I know that they had hired a master planner. Was there anything that person done that we can have as a resource or look at?
I have to pull that up from the archives. Basically,
Because the master planner was after.
well,
this, right?
well, here's what happened. Our master planner at one point put out a wonderful criteria of what they want to do, and after we did that, I hate using the space utilization word, I really do. Okay, after we did our last roundabout there, the master planner came back with basically the same plans, just put up more flowers, more walkways, and more traffic lights. That wasn't what we were looking for. And again, there's architectural design and architectural forethought are a little different. That was one of the issues why that master plan that was put out at the end of that is really pretty much, if you went back 4 years ago, it was the same thing. And it was quite irritating. But to that point, what we want to do is be able to say, this is what we have. Here, Mr. Architect, this is what our framework is, fill it in. Instead, what happened before is that, hello, Mr. Architect, tell us what we need to do. And there's a dynamic shift in that with Bill and with Riley and with Marie, with Katie and all the senior staff that's here, because what they want to do is to make sure when they go forward, they're doing what's in the best interest of the community. I hope that answers your question. If I can dig that up, because one of the things everybody will tell you, if you want something dug up, I'm the one to ask. If it's, it was there. Yeah, that's kind of what it is. What I will get out to all you guys is Russ provided me with the square footage of everything by each center, and I'll forward that out. It's on the laptop somewhere. That's the problem with me. Kay's smart. She uses hard copies. It's a good thing. But that's what it is. So that's kind of where we're going to be. How do you think we should attack this? First off, let me throw this back. We need to beef this committee up, too. Okay, we need at least 2 or 3 more owner members on this committee. Okay, I will only be sitting on this committee until June, or until the first task is done, and that'll be up to the president coming in to reestablish it with somebody on it. That's how it works in beautiful Sun City West. And and I'm very happy that my vice president is very involved in this. She gave us some great ideas, which I will also forward it to the committee. But I also need people who want to serve on this in a piece. And the only thing I'm going to put a criteria out for, if you'd like to serve on this committee, you must be able to separate yourself from the club and area that you're in and have no idea of what that means. And I can say this, Harry is sitting here, and you heard him say he's part of the Boomers. I've spoken with Harry, and he has been able to divorce himself from having the Boomers mindset as opposed to a Sun City West mindset. And that is a huge thing. And if you'd like to be on a committee, that is what we're looking for. It is not just what, and only as an example, the ice skating rink people want more ice skating rink time. This is what we need to do. You need to be able to say, hey, I love playing mini golf, only as an example, but I'm able to say, I don't need 65 more holes of mini golf to make myself happy. How can I look at the community as a whole? And that's what it needs to be. So that's the call out, all those listening on YouTube. If you want to, please reach out to myself. I have a couple names, but if you cannot divorce yourself from the club in the area or the place that you're at, this may not be the place for you right now. I just say that. Okay, now getting back. Kay, how do you want to attack this? The microphone on.
Going to get back to that original subject of focusing more on space right now. And I think the only way we can focus that is if we actually start out, whether you assign one of us to each rec center or a couple of us or whatever, but actually physically going around and looking at the club rooms. For example, have all of us been in every club room in Kuntz? Probably not. If we're not a weaver or if we're not a crafty person, that's probably not a place we're very familiar with. So I think we really need, from this committee, to become informed on what we've got and where it is. And then the other document that I have for my historical files will break out the listing of the usage. What hours of the day, what club is using it right now? Because that's the other component, is looking at the space and then what their usage is, and is that practical? Is it too many days a week? Is it blocking out hours when it sits empty, like this room, or like the lecture hall right now? I mean, we haven't used anything in the lecture hall for probably a year because of COVID, but we need to look at that. So I think we need to start with that focus on the club spaces. And like you say, some of them make no sense to move. For example, Weavers, the example you used. We just got them all set up with a nice room, and all their equipment is huge. You couldn't expect to just move them. But, if you've got another small club that uses a small space maybe one day a week, maybe they can be moved to a different small space and free up the space they're in that might be a little bigger for someone else. So I think.
Share with somebody else.
Or share with something. Now, there's a concept. Share.
Well, we can go out there, and I can always say this to you. When it comes to sharing, I always give kudos to the Boomers who share with the Women's Club, and they have shared that for many years, and they have made a classic example of how clubs should work together.
Yes,
Not
they have.
all smoothly sometimes,
Yes.
but they have made an effort second to none. And you look at it this way, and I'll use the tennis club just as an example, and they have platform tennis there. They share a facility. They're happy together. Okay, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. And you look at the photography club that meets and has a room in Beardsley, but when they have their general meetings, they meet in the theater. They share a space. And I think that's one of the things that we have to kind of focus on in our thought process of, we learned in kindergarten, if somebody has a sandwich and you have a full one, half goes to somebody else. We share very nicely. We need to and we need to go back and learn that again. I'm sorry to say, but it's okay. Do you guys like the idea of breaking it up into each individual look at a center? Go ahead.
Phil is a great asset for us in that he knows the clubs as far as participation, what he can provide us a lot of that information. Right, Phil?
Right?
Yeah.
We
I'm sorry,
talked
Phil.
earlier about scheduling. That was because we know what clubs are in what rooms at what time, okay? You brought up a great point. Some clubs have 300 members, and you see 10 of them, okay? You brought up the new computer system. We just had a meeting this morning, Katie and her group. They want to have that rolled out in a month. So I see this all being a part of the master plan. We did put it in the RRMPs that 75%. Okay, so the idea of me signing up my wife for the woodworking shop because we didn't have enough numbers isn't working, She's probably never seen the inside of it. But you brought up a very good point, and you brought up a very good point. And between what we see on the CR4s and what our monitors count, so I think this program that Katie's working on right now will alleviate a lot of those problems. Harry, I want to address something you said. You said, do we have, with COVID, we had a nice, actually, Donna, we started on this before COVID, didn't we? We started looking at numbers. We started looking at the members of clubs. And I went back to 2015, and you can see these trends. And COVID or not, those trends would have continued. So we kind of, I think you and I had a lengthy discussion about the direction that I don't want to say clubs, but I want to say spaces are going.
Only as an example, Phil, right? Only as an example. Don't
Only as
mention
an
the club demo.
example, only as an example. The fly fishermen, that's a good one. If the fly fishermen sign all their wives up and only 4 of them show up, then, it's not a good use of space. But just to assure you, because you asked about numbers and trends, actually Donna and I, 2 years ago? Started
Time
looking at.
flies.
Well, when you came on board, we started looking at that. We started looking at what clubs were going down, which were going up.
Do you?
Absolutely.
Do you have that by rec center?
I have it by club, which we can assign to a rec center. For example, all the craft clubs, 90% of the craft clubs are over at Kuntz. I call
Don't
it,
say that too loud because the beaters will come and hunt you down for Beardsley.
Good point. But, and we know what's over at Beardsley.
Yeah.
So when I look at clubs and I look at numbers and your idea about going and looking at these rec centers during the day will tell you a lot. My tours and taking my tours, I see it. So, and I think that would be a wise idea, just for some afternoon, wander through Kuntz at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or wander through Beardsley at 9 o'clock in the morning,
Now, my question is, and I don't want to burden you with so much, is that information readily available?
Yes.
Okay, and can you disseminate it out to us? Let's say, what's today, Thursday? By Monday afternoon?
No, I can't walk on water.
No.
It would take me, yes and no,
Reasonable, obtainable.
reasonable numbers, yeah.
Okay,
Can I
so,
give you everything in that short a time period? No, but I could probably by Wednesday get you most of the information you're looking for.
okay, go ahead.
I know recently you sent out a memo to the club presidents asking them to provide you with updated data on their membership list, and it was due back to you by the 22nd. Did you get a good response from the clubs on getting that done, or are we still missing a lot?
We got 70 clubs responded to it.
I'm sorry?
Only 70%, 70 clubs out of the 104 responded to us.
Okay.
And that's important because that goes into the program that we
Exactly.
discussed this morning.
Yeah.
I get a lot of kickback from that, and I'll just tell you straight up, is we did that. We did that. We submitted our CR-15.
Yep.
So that's why you saw the email, it said, for our new software program. And hoping that, okay, hey, this is something different. So we have to go back and I'll send out a reminder.
Now,
Because
now, don't forget too, guys, I just want to throw this out too. When you look at those club statistics, there are clubs you're going to look at that sheet and throw out. We're not moving the metal shop. We're not moving the wood shop.
Right.
You got 18 golf clubs that have nothing to do with this because where the golf courses are going nowhere, I'm sorry to say, contrary to some people's belief that were in the paper last week. But another issue all by itself, the reality is that there are clubs that are setting like, and I'll use only as an example, let's just say we have the Hillcrest Dancers, okay? The question that we're going to be not faced with on this phase, but in the next phase, is that is their use of the facilities being supported by outside guests as opposed to owner members? And who do we keep our facilities for? As governing board directors, incoming and current, okay, The question that you have to ask yourself is that, who are we sitting in those chairs for? The owner members or the guest from Scottsdale? I'm not looking for an answer, but those are the hard questions that we're gonna have to answer down the road. Okay, but that probably be phase two after we get the statistical stuff done. Phil, like I said, I'll be, we can help with as much as we can with that. Even raw data, we're good with.
I need to know what you want.
I need to know, I want an answer to everything. That's what I want.
Okay.
6
I mean,
months.
I can, my thing is I can tell you who's in the agave, it's not the agave room, sagebrush. I can tell you who's in sagebrush, how many people go to beaters, how many people go to yoga, how many people are in the clay club
Okay.
for a day. I can get you that information.
Okay.
It's not time broken.
Okay, well, here's the thing. Let's, as a committee, just a quick thought process. Okay, I looked at it this way. We have Kuntz, Johnson, upper and lower. We have Beardsley, Palm Ridge, and we have outside clubs. Okay, and outside clubs would be tennis, pickleball, the bocce people, the mini golfers, and this and that. They don't have a room, and we're not going to move their rooms or anything like that. But are their spaces convenient and suitable for who they have? That's the real question would be, and that's kind of the breakout I'm thinking at. But since right now we're limited on amount of time to get this information, how about we squeeze this down? Okay, the two big room factors that we have are Beardsley and Kuntz concurrently. They have the most rooms that shuffle around than anybody else. Do you guys agree with that? Mm-hmm. So Phil, how about this? Can we get those numbers by Monday for those two facilities?
Yep.
Okay, and then what we'll do next time we meet, we'll see how those numbers look and we can move on from there. The outside stuff, I'm not overly concerned about because that's something that's already being looked at from this 40,000-foot level, but that's something else that's out there. Okay, go ahead, Phil.
Okay, so you want it by month? You want it by day? I mean, we need to break this down. Okay, I can tell you how many.
Monthly good for you guys to start with?
I think I'd like average usage, meaning,
Per
they
month,
have it 3 days a week. I don't care if it's once a month, 5 times a month. What
That's what we did last
in that time
time.
period that they use it, is it 30%, 50%?
Okay.
I think the last time we did this, we said they were in there 3 days a week, and we counted a month as 4 weeks. So they were in there 12 times a month, and then we looked at those numbers.
Okay,
Which is
that would
what I
make
can
sense.
provide you with. Yes.
At that point in time when they count.
And we use, as much as possible, I use the monitor counts rather than the CR14s.
Right.
There are some that I have to pull this, well, the larger clubs, I use their CR14s because they're not the clubs we're talking about.
But Harry, to that point, like when I would sit at the Boomers dances, okay, when I would get that number, that's the number I reported in there because that's how many people came in. It was simple. And that's just what it was. I don't care how many people are on the paper, how many people paid me to get in or paid their fee to get in. That's what it comes down to. And a lot of these are really solid numbers, but like we know, there are clubs out there who tote, I have 800 members and they have 25 that use their rooms, and they're taking up space that are like, a sardine would be sunning themselves, they have so much room. But that's it. Go ahead, Donna, please.
I think, personally, I would like to see a survey developed that could go out to the community and to be able to get answers for what the community thinks is needed.
Are you looking for like a Survey Monkey thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Something to where we put the questions together, specifically, for example, if we're going to talk about Kuntz tennis courts.
Just
I
as
wanna ask
as
that-
an example, right?
Yes, just as an example, to ask the community, okay, Kuntz tennis courts are really up for repurposing. And how do they feel? What do they think? Do they think Kuntz should remain tennis courts? Do they think pickleball should move in? Do they think it should be a gymnasium? Do they think it should be whatever? and to get that feedback from the community, which will give us direction as to what the community would like to see within Sun City West. And it's not just the Kuntz, but I mean, people talk about, I want a gathering space that serves, you know, snacks and alcohol. Is that really what the community wants? Do we, you know, do they think billiards room is?
These are
You
real
know,
questions.
All questions that, for me personally, I've heard the community talk about and wants to know what's happening, is where are we at in those areas? And I think that that's essential in our master plan in moving to the future.
Harry, just give me 2 seconds on this one. Katie, I know you're not going to speak on this one. Is SurveyMonkey something easily we can do? Okay, thank you. Because then I'll get back to it. Thank you. I just want to make sure. Yes, Harry.
Well, and my thoughts with a long-range plan is, yes, we got to do a survey of the people that are here to see what they want. But another issue we got, I was born in 46. I'm at the upper end of the boomers. 18 years, that's a long stretch. That's the longest stretch of people in any age graphic there's been. The ones are going to get shorter and shorter. I think we also need what is going to attract that 45 and 50-year-old, when they get to 55, want to come here. They're not going to, are they going to want to come here and play golf? I think, as history has shown, when this community started, the golfers golfed 5 and 6 times a week minimum. Now I'm an active golfer. I golf 3 to 4 times a week, and a lot of people are golfing 1 and 2. And as these people come in, how often are they going to golf? What are the events they are going to want to do? What's going to attract them to come here?
And to your point, you know, you should reach out to Pat O'Hara because he's done quite a bit of survey and marketing work on this, and they have taken direction. I guess about 2 years ago, they changed their thought process on how they marketed golf and golfing. What they did is, instead of, and I've always been a manager, when people manage by hope, we manage to fail. Okay, that is my own personal opinion. What he did is he was going out there, and we based for many years hoping we had golfers move in. Now what he's done is he's taken a strategic outlook and has taken his marketing ability to a place that already has golf communities that are out there for the under 55 people, the under age restricted communities, and he's marketing there. And we have seen a tremendous uptick in golf, and not only in the play, but in new people signing up for golf. And again, I think what it is that people say golf is declining. Overall, there was a point where I forget what they call it, Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z. I don't remember which one is which. That's just me. Okay, that it was declining. Okay, but what it is the generation past that, there's an uptick on it. So it's like anything. There's a wave in there, and the idea is that it's just like selling. It's like selling cars. You have to know who you have to market it to, and Pat has taken it in there, and it's been very successful, because when you look at it, the golf area here in Sun City West not only is growing, and I know a lot of it's due to COVID, okay, because it was something to do that was outside, but with that also, it's not just the frequency; it's the frequency of new people, and that's what you build on. That's what you build on. But I hope that answers your question on that.
Well, yeah, you know, and it's just like they talked about the survey where 347 responses, and 30% was 55 to 65, so it assumes 70% had to be 45 to 55. But then I get a list, and it didn't make any sense to me, because there's 46 items, responses on the list. The only one, there was 3 that had 2, 1 had 3, and a restaurant had 8, and everything else was all over the world. It tells me nothing.
Well, again, this is what I was going to task us to do, is by the time we meet the next time, how about we each bring back 3 questions we'd like to put on the survey, and we could squeeze it down to like maybe the top 6 questions, and have a Survey Monkey put it out there. I mean, we have the electronic means. It isn't like it was 10 years ago where we had to have a paper and, you know, send it out by carrier pigeon and things like that. We have the ability to reach out. Katie, if I'm just going to ask you to speak on this one, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Our e-news goes out to approximately how many people?
6,000, I believe? Is it
Our
9,000?
9,000. So on an instant hit, we would have 9,000 availability to see that right up front.
But do we need to figure out another place to go for a survey?
Sure.
The people that are here, what I am going to say on a survey shouldn't really make any difference to this committee. Because I'm at this end in my life where I don't have any years left. And what's I want to do for this community doesn't have any bearing on its longevity. I think we've got to go to the younger people, the people that's going to want to come in and find out what do they want, what's going to attract them.
And I think we can market it in 2 ways that way. If I remember correctly, you know, we have, there's a Sun City West out there, was a number 2 group out there, wonderful community to move to. I don't know what it would take, but that is what I would lean on our extremely wonderful and diverse IT department, hint, 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 to be able to see if they could attach that, say, hey, you looked at Sun City West, could you answer a survey for us? I don't know what that would take. I don't know. And I'll be the first one to admit it, and I don't want to limp anything. I don't know either. But I'm sure that by the time we meet next time, they can give us an answer on if it would cost us something, if it was easy to do, if it's overly obtrusive to do or whatever. I don't know. But again, like you say, Harry, I just don't want to talk to the people who are in Peoria either. I want to talk to the people in Idaho, and where's that other place that starts with an I? Iowa.
Iowa State.
I'm sorry. But that's okay. We know that. Listen, I'm from New Jersey. We know we're in bad shape. That's all there is to it. But that's something we can do. Like I said, we're really taking baby steps here to set the criteria for making good, solid decisions going forward. I think that's what it is. You guys are agreeable to that? Come back with our next meeting, 3 questions. That includes you, Phil.
I got it written down.
You'll be, yeah.
You know, to answer Harry, because he says he's on the upside, and I'm planning on living to 100, by the way.
We have,
One of the first things that we, in the survey is age. And then we can, you know, filter it out and say, okay, this is what 55 to 60 said, this is what 60 to 65 said, 65 to 70. You know, then you get a feel of, okay, here's the people up here, here's their ideas of Sun City West, here's the 60-year-olds, and here's the ones that have just moved here. And those are the important ones because they're going to be here a while. And those, believe it or not, are some of the people we should encourage to be on this committee for a long-term plan. The thing I hear the most, true story, is I don't want to go there, the music's too old.
okay.
And I mean, that's,
Well, I'm not going to mention anybody who was part of when we set the radio station up. They did statistical information, and based on the average age of the people, they wanted us to play, I want to say, Baroque music, because that was the most popular music for the average age of the people that are here. Okay, so again, you know, we know what that's all about. I didn't, you know, I thought that was something you play if your hamster has a problem. I don't know. But the idea is that we come back with reasonable questions. I think we can reach out. I mean, we have great opportunity out here to make a huge change moving forward. And again, we're square one. Okay, so I'm gonna goals our goals next time we meet. Have some questions from SurveyMonkey. Phil's going to get statistical information for Beardsley and Kuntz and assimilate it out to us. George will provide the square footage plans for you guys. Okay. And we are looking for people to join the committee who can put themselves aside from whatever clubs and group they're with. How's that for lofty? Madam Vice President, how's that for lofty goals? Committee application forms for the Vice President, please use them. She made them, she wants them used. That's a good thing. Donna, you got anything else for this?
I was just going to suggest that at our next meeting, we all come in with someone who's going to join the committee
That would mean
after they fill out the application.
that would mean someone would have to like me to come in. That's a problem, Donna, you know. That's good. Carrie?
I think, I agree with Phil. I think we need to find some of the younger blood to be on this committee. I think that's probably one of the most imperative things that's got to go forward, because my ideas, you know,
Are you saying your ideas are old?
music. I showed up because I said I was. 5 minutes later, I went out the back door because I hate 80s music.
Huh?
That's their music, you know, and they need to be part of this.
I agree. I agree. Kay? She's writing diligently with integrity.
Years of practice. I don't want us to get so focused on the survey right now that we forget the purpose of the name of this committee is Space Solutions. We're drifting from that. I don't minimize the importance of a survey and the idea that Harry has of getting younger people on this committee, but I also don't want us to lose sight of what we have a 3 months' time to accomplish and give the governing board something they can work with that's useful. And if we spread it too big, you're going to have bits and pieces that aren't going to be as valuable as we could do with the time we've got. That's my only concern.
Very good. Phil, anything else for
I had
you?
one other question. Katie, was it about 10 years ago when we had the ASU survey that was done? Okay. You know, that was the last thorough official survey that was done by the folks at ASU. And it was very comprehensive.
Yeah. I read that. I don't know if there was a copy of it around or anything like that. I'll have to look in the archives for that. Phil, anything else?
Nope, good.
Madam Vice President, I know you're smiling there. Thank you for coming in. Nothing to say? Good. Kathy, you're sitting over there in Bill's stead. Any questions or comments? Yeah, we got to, and then I didn't want to put too much staff on this group right now. I want them to give us information. We can help assimilate it so I don't use their valuable time. And then the next phase will be much more with scheduling and this and that goes with this. This is not going to be just one part. This is step one of the committee. Mike, I see you're sitting there. You got any comments or questions? Yeah, you have to be alive, and you can't be from North Dakota. I know that.
I just want to make certain that, this is COVID time now, and a lot of these memberships are going to be a little, numbers are going to be shaky for everybody, I think. That might not be a real good number.
Well, we're going to use 2019 numbers as the start baseline. 2020 we're throwing out there, but like Phil said, trends will continue whether COVID happened or not. So the idea is that if they're on the downslide, they're on the downslide. Having COVID may accelerate it. It isn't going to stop it. So it's an idea of where we are. And if you're going back, if you said you have 3 or 4 years of real information, one of the things that Charter Clubs was trying to do is to reach out to clubs that were becoming borderline of keeping charters and things like that. And before they get to that point of putting the red button out there, is putting their hand up, say, we have a declining issue. How can we help us get that back up or group together before it becomes critical? And again, just as an example, there are clubs out there who have been sufficed by outside members in droves that have kept the space, and that's wonderful. We're glad to have guests to come in there. We're glad we can see our facilities. We hope our guests come in and want to purchase homes and live in this wonderful paradise we have. But on the same token, to support an area that they have by having people coming in, and I'm not saying snowbirds, but weekly people that live in different areas, and I'll just say, let's say Goodyear or whatever. That's something that's a questionable mark that we have to keep up there. Hope that answers. Anything else, Mike? Good. Sue? Sue, you got to turn your mic on so they can hear you. You said you weren't going to talk? I'm okay.
Oh, okay, I said I wasn't going to talk, but when Kathy brought up the staff needs, my question would be, do you have something already prepared that has some data as to what kinds of spaces that you need? Because if she's got that data, that could come to you too, right now, if you've,
Yeah.
if you know what your needs are.
Well, we kind of talking amongst ourselves and we see it every day, so we have ideas, but I don't think anybody's put it down in one. But there's meeting space problems, there's size of rooms problems for meeting to accommodate what we have, there's just several things that we go through every day that, you kind of make a mental note.
So if that's data, I'd say have her throw that to your committee and you can work on that as well.
Okay, thank you. With that, there's no other comments. I see nothing from the outside. I will adjourn this meeting. What I'd like to do, if this Thursday afternoon works for everybody, I'd like to have it again a week from today. We will have one conflict on Thursday, because on the third Thursday of the month, golf meets here. So we will parlay that. That will be our week off. We'll have our respite. But I think we're on the right track and getting our good information out here. Okay, thank you, and I will adjourn the meeting.